continuing to take these things out. If you don't have something like this, you could just use a regular nail to pop these out. Anything that's firm enough to kind of work them out without damaging the shape would be what you'd want. I'm going to go back to this. I like this because it has a point. I can get to hard to get to areas without destroying the shape of the embossing that these shapes made. So we're actually using all kinds of shapes to emboss into the clay and try to keep the integrity of the shape. I love this plasticine because it actually holds the shape better sometimes than regular clay. So after you've taken a really good look at your clay and made sure you didn't leave any of the nails or any of the bolts in there, and I can see I left one right there. You see that? Sometimes it's hard to see with colored clay. So I'm going to pop that one out. And I don't see any other ones. So that's very important before you move on to this next step, because you won't remember. Okay, the next step is to use about 3 or 4 cups of water and plaster. We're going to take plaster and make a plaster mixture. So we're going to start with the water, and then we're just going to add plaster a little bit at a time, just like that. 1 cup. This is a regular Chobani cup. 2. 3. Interesting thing about plaster, you want to be really careful that you're gently putting it in, that you're not creating a dust cloud, because it does have lye in it and it's not good for you to breathe. This is a fine plaster used in pottery, a potter's plaster for making molds. So this is specially designed. It's a little bit better than plaster of Paris, and you're all going to get some because I just bought some for you. You people in the 2nd grade, you young guys and girls who've been working on this project. Now you want to keep adding plaster until it doesn't take it anymore. And it looks like this, like a mountain. And nothing could happen. I could leave this until tomorrow and then come back and nothing would happen until I start to mix it. And that's what I'm about to do right now. When I start to mix this, I'm going to mix it with one hand. Just like that. And I can always tell, I think just for tonight, I might add a little more. Now I have a glass bowl here, so one of the things, or the most important thing you want to realize is you should never ever pour this down your sink. This could create a hard rock in your elbow and completely back up your sink, and you would have to take it all apart, and it would be really, really terrible to see that happen to anyone. So the danger here is make sure this dries and put it all in the trash. Don't try anything extra. Don't try to wash it down your sink. Because in your hands too, we like to try to dry as much and wipe as much on a paper towel. That's why I have a bunch of paper towels today. And this is starting to harden up. And you know it's thick if you can go like that and it covers the pink of your skin. If it covers the pink of your skin like that, then you know it's perfectly thick enough. And now we're going to do about 1 inch. So we're going to fill this up and put it all in here, just like that. And we want to make sure it's all nice and even. I'm going to go like that. And then we're going to let it dry. The thing that will happen is as this starts to dry, it will heat up and it will get hard. Now, while we're waiting, we can take some wire, and this is just regular wreath wire, and I've made about 4 lengths of it, and I'm just going to go like this. And wreath wire is very manageable with your fingers. And then you're going to make this go up like that, this go across, this go down, and that like that, so that you make something like a horseshoe or a U shape. And you're going to put that right near the top. So that's going to go right here. You can see that that's already starting to set up. The other thing I'm going to do is put some strips in the back. These are cloth strips, and if you put cloth strips in the back, your project will never ever break. So I'm going to go like this. And I'll put one in here. And then I'm going to try and I'm going to take a little plaster on the side and just go over the top of it, just like that. And what this will do is this will reinforce the backing so it won't crack or it won't break on you and make it stronger. And this is just burlap. Little extra burlap pieces I've had around for a while. I feel like I'm oil painting. I love to paint with an oil painted palette knife. That's what this is. This is a palette knife. You never want to leave your tools either dirty when you're done, because what can happen is it could be very hard to clean them and they could rust. So usually these palette knives are steel. So I'm going to wash this really good, but with a whole lot of water so that it doesn't have a chance to do anything to my sink. A lot of times I'll do it in a bowl so that I can just, drain off the plaster. And so I'm making it look really nice, but I can see the strips in the back. And a lot of these plaster sculptures will have this. You'll be able to see some of the texture of the canvas, or in this case, the burlap, which is actually acting to hold the whole painting together really nicely. Now this is going to dry no matter what. It's going to take a little time, and I'm just going to wait for it to dry. And while I'm waiting, I'm just smoothing everything out really quite beautifully. And the other thing you can do right now, and it's starting to be like frosting, it's also getting hotter. This clay is heating up because of the lye in it. Just like that. And I can take a nail and put Mr. Vermette, or Vermette, like that. I could put the date if I wanted to, which is 2000. Actually, I don't think I want to put the date in. I don't like to date my artwork. I don't like the idea of my artwork being lined up. I think I'll put a stamp right there. And this is all done. Now what we have to do is wait. You can speed it up a little bit with heat. can speed it up a little bit with a hair dryer, but this isn't something you want to rush. See, that's getting as hard as a rock now. You could put your finger thumbprint in there or just about anything you want, and it will identify that it's yours. And when this dries, it'll be very hard to pull those cloth burlap out of there, and it will act as a reinforcer to strengthen the back so it doesn't crack in half. It will hold your sculpture together. Okay, and I'll be back in a little bit. Let's let that set for a while. Usually you have to wait at least a half hour to an hour, and we'll see what happens in a little bit. Okay, now we're going to watercolor paint. And you can see I've gotten some paints for you that you students will have that I've actually taken paint out of a tube and squirted in here. And this paint's a lot better than this paint that I got from the dollar store. It's kind of a cheaper grade paint, but they'll all work if you add a little bit of water to each one of them. You don't need to do that too much with this paint, because this, all you have to do is touch this, because it has more pigment than it does the binder, which is gum arabic. So we're going to add some yellow and some red and yellow and go back here, back and forth a little bit, and I'm going to do my face. And I think this is so much fun, adding a lot of water and doing it very quickly. So I'm going to do the kind of light portion of my face. You add a little tiny bit of blue to that, and it will go brown. See? Just a little bit of blue. I'm going to leave my eyes, go right around this. This can be so much fun to paint on plaster. It's kind of like what they do with a stucco. Stucco walls are painted this way. Make sure you have a lot of, you can use different colors and experiment. And you can float paint. Been wonderful working with you today. Please remember to like, subscribe, or even comment. I'd love to know what you feel about what you saw and what you think about it all. And for those people who aren't a part of my class, you're more than welcome to try this and contact me as well. But I would love to hear from my students from the Indian Island School, the second graders, and I would love to have you email me at michael.vermette@iis.bie.edu, and I will see you next time, hopefully very, very soon, with art supplies so that you can make a plaster cast self-portrait relief. See you next time.